Hi guys, welcome back to another quick card pull. This is being filmed on Sunday, August 9th, 2026. Today we're pulling from the Astrology Answers Tarot cards. So they're showing the Four of Wands, so I feel like everything getting back to normal, celebrations, perhaps engagements, marriages, leaving for a vacation, coming home from vacation, so that may resonate. I know one of my girlfriends is on vacation for the first bit of this week. I feel like just positive things, you know what I mean? And I feel like it's just like, maybe things may not go, like, I know sometimes we wake up from bad dream or we wake up with a headache and it's like, you know what, even though the day started this way, it's not going to define the rest of your day, because you have the choice on how you move forward. Yeah, it sucks to have headaches and everything like that, you know what I mean? But it's just like, even if for just today you got through the day, you are a victor wearing the wreath, because you could have pulled the blankets over your head and you'd be like, oh, fuck it, I'll try again tomorrow. But here you are trying. Unconditional love. So we definitely get this from Lionsgate Portal. We're calling in our ancestors, our loved ones, Yahweh Yeshua, Divine Creator Gaia, Mother Earth, our higher self. And it's just like, this is where everybody loves, being in their sanctuary, everything being in a good place. That is things going back to the norm. They're highlighting the month of February 4th, which is interesting because that's my brother's birthday. But highlighting February, so I feel like for the most part, this is a turning point, and you're going to have to move together as a group, whoever this is involved with, but it will, things will turn for the better. Things are turning for the better. You know what I mean? And I feel like it's being grateful for that, because it's just like, even situations, they block us from so many things we don't see. Some things we don't have knowledge of. You know what I mean? Like with myself, certain things, it's like, yeah, I do, I do that sometimes. I'll stay up till 4, 6 o'clock in the morning. Or not getting very good sleep. I know how it affects me in a negative way, but it's just trying to get as much sleep as possible. But this is where it's just moving together in faith, moving together in, you know what I mean? Every day is not going to be a great day, but we'll make the most of every single day. I definitely feel exhaustion. There is deceit. Here is what they're showing. This may resonate with everybody's situation or with a little bit of people's situations. Exacerbating the situation is what they're saying. So I feel like even if that is true, I feel like there's real proof here that there's something going on. Attention. So they said the word attention, and in my mind's eye, it's yellow with white writing with attention and an exclamation mark. So I feel like this is also bringing to your attention. You know what I mean? This is serious. And I vowed to never let this happen again. I will do everything in my power to not allow this happen again. You know what I mean? Now I know and need to move forward, with that knowledge. Sometimes there's just knowledge that's hidden from us. What can you do? You just keep moving forward. I feel like this is with effort, with the Seven of Swords. You know what I mean? I felt like something on their side triggered this, but they didn't think it would be this bad. They're saying you can't unring that bell. So it's just what are you going to do? You know what I mean? It's you could scream, fight, whatever. It's just going to make the situation worse. 333. So this is calling in our ancestors and everything. So for that knowledge, for that information, you know what I mean? I definitely did call that in. I'm let me know what I need to do. Let me know, how you know what I mean? How do I move forward? How do I, save this situation? And information did come in. So it's just every day is getting better, which I am very grateful for. Yesterday was the best day so far. So it's just that's what I'm saying. I feel effort. I feel this is your, when they show the magician, they have that yellow hue as well. So I feel really potently listening to your intuition. And again, it's not every action deserves a reaction. So this is where you need to be watch your footing here. It is a sensitive situation. It is heartbreaking. They may admit to it later, but I feel again, the actions actually provoked or awakened something that was lying beneath the surface. And that's where it's just ugh. But you know what I mean? What can you do? You know what I mean? Especially my situation is just this has been something that's been knocking for a while. And it's just okay, all you can do is put one foot in front of the other, at the end of the day. This is causing rifts and fights and, You know what I mean? This is, other people trying to involve. That's why I was just like, I kept it to a certain amount of people, because I'm like, no, I don't need everybody and their mother involved. You know what I mean? Not all help is good help. You know what I mean? And I feel like it would have made it worse. So, and again, fueling the fire, exacerbating the situation even worse than it was. So I feel like it's just like, this is not a situation worth fighting for in the way of fighting amongst each other, but it's worth fighting for the individual, to lift them up and, you know what I mean, hold up a hand and pick them up. You know what I mean? They're showing like dirt, like this is back in the days, maybe the 1900s, where it's like, cart, horse and buggy being run over by a cart, but it's kind of, well, I guess the horse more so would do the damage than the wheels, right? But you know what I mean? It's like it's stuck in the mud. You know what I mean? And you're helping them up. You put your arm on their forearm and you grab their forearm. They grab your forearm and you pull them up. They feel stuck. So you're unsticking them. This is where I was a little concerned because of like the deceit and everything, and the Wheel of Fortune. It's like it should be wrapping things up. I feel like wrapping up to a certain extent where it's not going so bad as it did, but I feel like there'll be knockings of this, and they'll be like, oh, remember, da 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 da, and you know what I mean, just kind of throwing in your face and stuff like that. So just be kind of mindful, and it's just like, you know what I mean? Like who posted that? It was Bob Marley, and it said that, even with your family, you will suffer. And it's true. It's just like they say some words or they do some actions, and you're just like, even though you love these people unconditionally, funny enough, with a family, you know what I mean? We got unconditional love was the first card. Like, we got 10-10. So, like, you know what I mean? End of, like, they were showing deceit and, unconditional love. But I feel like there's still unconditional love. I feel like there's things worth celebrating here. I think there's still things worth fighting for here. But that's what I'm saying. It's just like people's actions will make you be like, you know what I mean? Like, not even, your sanctuary, are you safe? So I feel like it's just, keep that in the back of your mind. Like they're saying February, so maybe they'll get bored with it. Calling on our archangels. I know I definitely was, like, Dad, come through and help us out, and, asking questions, asking for wisdom, asking for patience, you know what I mean? And I feel like that's where it's just like, I have done everything in my wheelhouse, my skills, in my experiences, what pulled me out of this situation, I thankfully, maybe I was, who knows, but you know what I mean? It's just like pulling them out of the situation, and it's just like, damn, man, everybody came through, and, very thankful for that. And I feel like that's where it's just like standing in your strength, standing in your, your faith, and whatever it is that you have to, again, with the yellow color, following your intuition, making sure you're resting and rejuvenating, because that's like the first post we got today. They were saying it was for Saturday, but because he said Saturday and I'm posting, like, it definitely resonated with me, but I'm like, I'll post it tomorrow, so I took Saturday off there. But maybe it'll resonate for some of you for Saturday. But it's just like, even if it has a date on it, you know what I mean, I feel like the message is important. It's like, even though that this they say this date, it's like, just remember that they're telling, this is universe bringing this to your attention. You need to take care of you, because universe pulls into your cup. But if you're constantly purging your cup and depleting it to drops, or even worse, and like in the negative, it's like you have to give them a chance to recuperate you. You know what I mean? Because you have that weight of the world on your shoulders. So it's like, be mindful of that. We go to the Three of Pentacles. This is working together. We definitely have to work together to be successful. You know what I mean? Nobody's better than the other. Everybody has different wheelhouses, different skill sets. That's what's going to get us forward. That's what's going to get us to where we need to get to. Not fighting with each other. Because when we start turning inward and fighting against each other, there's no point. You know what I mean? There's just like, But, sometimes it's just like separate. Everybody go to a different part of the house, or go a different part of wherever this is, where there's, some space, and that's where things are going to come back together, With us in the Northern Hemisphere, especially being in New Brunswick, it'll start cooling down this week, thankfully, because this really did exacerbate the situation, because it's like, it's hard to sleep in that heat. If you're lucky enough to have like air conditioning in your room, or a heat pump or something like that has like right in your room so you can sleep comfortably, sleep is very important. And remember, you know what I mean? If you've been burning the candle at both ends, this is a call for you to take a break. This is a call for you to rest and rejuvenate. You know what I mean? Even if you're sleeping in a little bit more, like usually you get up at this time, but you press snooze for, 100 billionth time, uh, the millionth, billionth. It's just like, it's okay. You needed it. You needed to press snooze and recuperate. This is a rebirth. Again, going with the yellow hue in the background, kind of giving me fall, autumn kind of colors. Even with the magician there. Was it the magician? Or was it the four of... There was one there. Oh, they were saying with the four of wands there with the grapes on the top, it's like learning more information. We are going into this cornucopia season. Believe it or not, there's only 4 months left of the year. You know what I mean? You don't realize that when you head in, like, you're end of summer, like, the year's almost done. It doesn't feel that way. But then, like, they showed it on the calendar, and it's just like, we're entering cornucopia season. Not only harvesting, but also all areas of your life. And I feel like this is why this time, as we move forward, is going to be very important, especially with that situation, because it's just like, that is a rebirth in their life. That is them growing. In this whole thing, they did not give up as much as they wanted to. It's like, we're not giving up, you're not giving up. It's like, we're going to figure it out. It's like, that doesn't work. It's like a puzzle or like a solution in science. You keep on trying, you keep on, this worked to this point. Okay, so we put this and this, let's not put this time. We're figuring out a formula that works. It's not going to always be like that, but you know what I mean? Like this time, I feel like a lot of us had to show up and be like, yeah, this is worth fighting for. This is someone I am definitely invested into and pouring my cup into, Cardinals may be significant. Blue Jays may be significant. I feel like a bird with a tufty fluffy on the top of their head. But again, it's just like, rebirth. And it's just like giving them time to get used to this. Getting their feet underneath them. So it's like they're learning how to walk again. God forbid, no harm to none. We don't want to get to that point. But I feel like that's what they're saying. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like to that much of a rebirth. It's just like kind of freaking taking the blinders off and being like, maybe they had some narrative in their head. And it's like, oh, you know what I mean? 12-12. So that's all you could do sometimes. So as I just mentioned, this is a cycle from when this started till February 4th. But they're showing here again a confirmation of a cycle. So on the 12th will be a solar eclipse. And then August 29th will be a lunar eclipse with the full moon. And this is making the choice to move forward. And I feel like you will see a lot of change, transformation. They're saying positive, because you're choosing to move forward. I was just watching a video that my girlfriend Hajra posted, and she was, the gentleman was talking about, like, we sit there and it's like a mountain. You hit a plateau, you go through some things, but you keep going because we're ascending this mountain. Remember, we kept getting that Ace of Pentacles or any card where they were showing mountains in the background. So these are like more like little islands. But at the same time, it's like you are making the choice to move forward. You are not just being like, you know what, let me, I'm done, I'm tired, I'm just going to, yeah, I know you're tired. I know you're exhausted. That's why they're saying rest and recuperate, rest and rejuvenate. This is a time for you to, put down the sword and rest and, make it, all of us making it forward. When some people want to give up, you're dragging, they're showing walking through a desert. So literally like in a heat wave, like, you know what I mean? And it's just like nobody wants to be in that kind of condition. So it's like, I'm grabbing your arm and I'm pulling you forward. You don't want to walk? I'll pull you. I'll drag you. Five of Swords, we're not using our words to be negative and nasty. You know what I mean? You could be in the upright position, but do you want to be known for that? For saying nasty, disgusting things that, you feel good about yourself? You feel proud of yourself that you were able to talk like that? Well, okay, that's nice. You know what I mean? But it's not worth the verbal altercation at all. This is not a time for verbal altercations. Like we were literally talking about, what was been keeping you up at night is now falling away. This is changed. This is transformed. They've changed and transformed. They realize, like, what they used to think is not true. And it's unfortunate. They're saying this could have lasted some time. You know what I mean? But we made the right decisions. We did the right things. And we made the right decisions. And you're going to definitely get this with the next cards. Regaining control. This could highlight, them. They decided to take the reins and be like, I'm moving forward. Because it's like, if you continue down this path, it's not going to be good. It's not going to be a good situation. And I literally said to them, I've utilized everything in my wheelhouse. I'm like, I don't have anything else, no more ideas or anything. I don't know what else to do. I'm like, I don't know what to do. You know, if this doesn't switch around, there's going to be other steps taken. You know what I mean? And they're kind of like realizing, they're like, oh, you know, that's a wake up call. 15. Six of Wands. So a lot of people say when you get the Chariot and the Six of Wands together, this is an absolute yes. You are going to be victorious. You will be the victor wearing the wreath. You know, they will be the victor wearing the wreath. It does have kind of youth energy there. It's like the youth has become a man or a young woman. I feel like, you know, stepping into their adulthood. So, you know, sometimes that can be scary for some people. Transitioning from, you know, when they graduate high school and, you know, like with myself, I'm like, I don't know what I want to do. Like, you know, I guess I'll just keep working until I figure it out. And I figured it out when I got, you know, 25, 26. I was like, oh, I think I'm going to go, you know, apprentice at a tattoo shop and, you know, get down that path. And then me and Shane met and life took over. You know what I mean? So it's just like, even sometimes when you have plans, you think you're headed in a direction and then, you know, it could be the best thing that ever happened to you. You like, you know what I mean? I cannot imagine not having my kids. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, nobody's relationship or, you know, their path is easy or, you know, whatever you want to say. But it's like, you know, as long as you have that strong core, there's nothing that you cannot handle. Purity of the situation. You know what I mean? Because we're getting a lot of deceit cards there. So, you know, I feel like that's where they're making that change. So I hope you enjoyed this quick card pull. May the universe bless you good.